All right, let's get started with example 3, finding angle measures. So you can use what you know about complementary and supplementary angles to find missing angle measures. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the diagram to find each angle measure. So we know that measure of angle 1 is 125 degrees, and what we need to determine is angle 2. So what I notice about angle 1 and angle 2 is they form this straight line together, and that straight line is a straight angle which equals 180 degrees. So what that means is that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, those are supplementary angles. They add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to make a little equation. The measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180 degrees. So we need to find the measure of angle 2. So we're just going to substitute 125 in for the measure of angle 1. And then we just have to get it by itself. So we're going to do the inverse operation, which would be subtraction. That cancels. We're left with the measure of angle 2. And I got to borrow. 10 take away 5 is 5. 7 take away 2 is 5. So 55 degrees. So that means that the measure of angle 2 is 55 degrees. All right, let's move over to B. So it says the measure of angle 1 is 125. We just determined that the measure of angle 2 is 55. Now what we need to do is find the measure of angle 3. Now if we look at 55, the angle 2 and angle 3, you would see that those form a straight angle as well, which means that they add up to 180 degrees, which means the measure of angle 2 and 3 are supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. So we can write an equation. So I can say the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180 degrees, and we know that the measure of angle 2 is 55 degrees. We figured that out in the last problem. And so we just need to get the measure of angle 3 by itself, so we're going to have to do inverse operations and subtract 55 from both sides. That cancels. We have 10 take away 5, which is 5. 7 take away 5, which is a 2, and then 1. 125. So that's what the measure of angle 3 is. And isn't that interesting? 125, measure of angle 3, and measure of angle 1, those are the same measure. Huh. Interesting. Okay, let's try C and D. So C says that UPJ, so UPJ is 37 degrees. We need to find UPS. So if I look at those two angles, and they create a straight angle, which is 180 degrees, which means these two angles added together are supplementary angles. So we can say that the measure of angle UPJ plus the measure of angle UPS is equal to 180 degrees. We know UPJ is 37, so we can substitute that in. And then we'll just use our inverse operations. We're going to subtract 37 to both sides. And we end up with, we have to borrow, that's a 3, that's a 7. 7 take away 3 is 4. So 143 degrees. That is what UPS is. Okay, and over here it says UPJ is 37. We just determined that UPS is 143 degrees, and we need to find SPV. So if we look at this, we see that UPS and SPV, they make a straight angle, which is 180 degrees, which means that they're supplementary, and those two angles add up to 180 degrees. So we can say that measure of angle UPS plus the measure of angle SPV is equal to 180 degrees. Then we substitute 143 in for UPS. And then just use our lovely algebra, inverse operations. We're going to subtract 143 to both sides. Those cancel. We have to borrow, that is 37 degrees. So the measure of SPV is equal to 37 degrees. And look at that, they're the same. Okay, so now we're gonna go down to E and F, and it's your turn to try E and F on your own. So here's my friend the pause dragon. Remind you to pause your device, go ahead and work out E and F. When you get done, press play and we'll talk about them together. All right, you can do it. Okay, let's see how you did. Okay, what do we have? We have NML is 153 degrees. Find JMN, so this one. Okay, so what I notice about both of those angles is they form a straight angle, which means these two angles are supplementary and they add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to say that the measure of angle JMN plus the measure of angle NML equals 180. All right, I'm going to substitute. I don't know what JMN is, so I just leave that as is. But I know NML is 153 degrees, so I can substitute that in. And then I'm just going to use my inverse operation, so I'm going to subtract 153 to both sides. Those cancel. I'm left with the measure of JMN is equal to, gotta borrow, 27 degrees. All right, perfect. So that is the answer. If you got that one right, great job. Okay, let's look at this next one. It says NML is 153, okay. And we just determined that JMN is 27 degrees. We need to figure out JMP. So JMP, this angle here. So what I notice about that angle is that these two angles are a straight angle, which add up to 180 degrees, which means these two angles are supplementary, all right? So I can make an equation. I can say that the measure of JMN plus the measure of angle JMP is equal to 180 degrees. Okay. Now I'm going to substitute in that JMN is 27. And then use my subtraction property of equality. And JMP ends up being 153 degrees, which is the same as this one. Okay, if you got both of those right, you did a wonderful job, and I'll see you in a little bit for example 4.